Hello, my War Thunder enthusiasts, Daily Money here. Welcome back to my channel. This time I'll bring you the F2H Banshee in realistic battles or Hokkaido. This was one of my first jets in the American tree, and since I came from after the British tree, I knew this was the only way to actually have a chance against meteors, because in my opinion the F-80 and the P-80 and the F-84 have no chance against Venoms, especially Venoms, and of course the Mark IV long wings, or now called the F4 FG, something like that. And this plane is a perfect mix between MiG-15 and Sea Meteor, because it has a climb rate and acceleration of a Sea Meteor, and it has a good top speed and good climb rate. And it's similar to compare to the MiG because it has good acceleration and cannot break its wings. So you're not in a huge disadvantage compared to the other American planes. So this is a good plane to start grinding the American tree, that's for sure. As you noticed, I'm not climbing southeast, because I want to test if altitude in solo play will really matter. And as you will see in this video, it does a lot, especially in a plane like this, where you rely on boom and zoom and staying in high speed. I picked this particular gameplay because it showed I wanted to test the limits of the turn rate in this plane, and you will see two variants of me turn fighting Venom and turn fighting Vampire. And as I noticed, the Banshee does not turn well at low speed, because it's a heavy plane and it has troubles accelerating when you're turning the force. So you will have to rely on turn fighting at high speed. So that means that you will be able to do one or two hard turns, try to get a snapshot, or like get on his tail for a second and fire and just zoom away. The optimal altitude should be around 4 to 5,000 meters. I don't think sea meteors and meteors in general will climb that high anyway, because there's no point. They mostly rush straight into you anyway. So it's a good thing to have some altitude on them. In regard to fighting any other planes like MiG-15s, MiG-9s, 163s, and so on, you will not have a lot of problems. I think pretty much the biggest challenge are the meteors and the Venoms. The 163s are easy to outmaneuver because they have bad elevator control and they snap easily, so you can do high-speed turns. On the MiG-9s, they don't maneuver as well as you, so unless you're in the vertical, so be careful about that. The MiG-15s are mostly just cocky, so you will either kill them in a short burst, or, in a head-on, or they will just try to turn with you. You will get an easy kill. The L-28s are pretty easy to kill because of the new fight damage models, and the high explosive rounds do a lot of damage now. What else is there? The Japanese. I think I never even faced the Japanese in this plane, because there's not as many R2Y2s never in one game, so they mostly get scattered around to prop matches anyway. Okay, we are around 5,000 meters now, and now I'm just waiting for them to show up, and I see the first meteor to my left, and that's the only guy in the match who actually sort of climbed. The rest of them are just dogfighting on the right side. So we're slowly closing in. I'm still climbing just in case, and waiting to see if there's something else. I tried to be as careful as possible in this match, because I knew I was going to end up alone eventually. And I do encourage you to play this the Banshee in a squad. It's really fun. Even when you get Hokkaido, you can still have a lot of fun in it. We're still waiting for someone to show up. Now I'm just hoping that they will at least last long enough for me to clean up the high altitude. And now I spotted it out behind me. This plane does perform pretty well at high altitude, and it doesn't overheat at high altitude, but your top speed will still be on sea level anyway. So you need to take that into consideration. So you can have two approaches. One will be to be always on the deck and just fly it as a saber, like zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, like until they all die. And the other approach would be the MiG approach, just stay on high altitude and wait for them to come to you, like this guy right here. Just quick short burst. We scratch each other, nothing special. And turning straight into him. At this moment, I do out-turn him, but as soon as I drop speed now, he started to out-turn me, but for some reason he didn't want to pull up. He will probably kill me anyway, but he decides to run. So I'm gonna follow him down just to check around me if there's something else in high altitude. My team is slowly dying. And there's nothing high above. Okay, we're engaging into a dive. And I did have a lot of problems trying to adjust myself into a dive, because they were turn fighting so hard that I couldn't even get on a tail on a tail and so on. I'm just popping my air brakes back and forth, waiting for an opportunity while they're still dying. And the clouds are not helping as well. Yeah, I see a good angle on the Venom now, so I'm gonna air brake and get on his tail now. If you did this without boosters, you would crash at this point, so be careful about that. Okay, now he's doing a sharp turn. Actually, he's not turning, he's not even bothering with me. So I'm just gonna pull up and wait and watching him if he's gonna shoot at me. And he is. So I'm gonna pull him up to stall, into a stall. And during this dogfight that it's gonna happen for the next, I don't know how many minutes, I noticed that the Banshee has a tendency to lock up because of its heavy nose in low speed, as you see, and that can really screw you over, especially when you're fighting something like a Venom. Now I'm just pulling him up and over and over again, trying to get an angle on him. The only reason this is kind of working is because he's probably not the most experienced Venom pilot. And I did get an angle on him like 2 or 3 times, but I wasn't lucky enough to shoot him down. The best way to approach this would be probably just to zoom away into a climb and come back into him, but it doesn't work well since you have a similar climb rate compared to the Venom, so you won't have gained that much separation. Okay, pulling down on him. He's pulling up. At this moment, I cannot even control the plane because I lost orientation because of the clouds, and I'm just watching at the radar, trying to figure out which directions he's going. And at this moment, I just decided to break off because the other Banshee was chasing down a freaking Canberra all this time, and I didn't even realize that he could have come here and killed the Venom with no effort. Okay, now I'm gonna go towards the Banshee because he apparently doesn't care. The flaps are pretty effective on this plane, that's for sure. But they break off instantly if you don't pay attention to the speed. Pretty much very similar to the sea meteor. And there's the Venom. He's already switched to the other Banshee. And he crashed. So I'm stuck again, all alone. And I'm gonna do the same thing again. As you see, now I'm going over 700, and look how fast I'm turning into a vertical. And at this point I need to break off, but I really wanted just to test the limits of this plane. So I kept forcing him to turn fight me. He almost gets a shot on me. I pull off, turn back in. At this moment, I know that he is completely outturning me, and that he's gonna get on my tail really soon. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of separation. And I'm gonna do another thing in a few seconds. As you see, he has no problems at turning on my tail at low speed. And you can see now that I am out-accelerating him, but it has no point, since I'm alone and there's nobody around to help me anyway. And he will catch me eventually, so I'm doing another cheap trick, and that is to force him to pull down. And any British pilot knows that nose diving after an enemy in a straight line is pretty much a death for a Venom and a sea meteor. And now he completely overshot. I'm gonna pull the flaps, and there you go. As you see, this was probably the last second possible for me having an opportunity to shoot him down. And now to find the rest of them. As you saw, he had a really hard time trying to shoot at me. And the only reason is that most British players have nightmares of breaking their wings in negative G's, so they know that they cannot look up at someone or to the side and then look straight down, because they will snap their wings into like minimal G's. So he was he was just trying to level off with me and try to catch me, but since I hit the air brakes, he pretty much overshot because he wasn't paying attention. And all this time I did a small dogfight with the vampire, just pulled him up into a vertical and flown away, because the acceleration just makes that kind of maneuver pretty easy. And now just flying away, I'm gonna try to find the Canberra. I'm pretty sure he's landing, so I'm just gonna go try to strafe him on the runway. I know the vampire, he has no chance of catching me, even though if he keeps climbing like that, when I turn back he will be on my tail right away. Similar to the high speed versus climb rate, so he will always be able to keep up in some sort of way. Now I spotted the Canberra. He started to take off but stopped at the last second. He saw me. Now he's just gonna try to bait me into shooting him. Slowly approaching him. I tried to score a couple of hits on him before he bailed out, just to make sure he doesn't spawn again, but I failed. Doesn't matter, pull back up. Now I'm just waiting for the vampire to catch up. And this is where the other turn fight begins. I really don't recommend turn fighting in Banshee too much, because as you saw, it feels like a flying brick sometimes, especially on low speed. I think you probably have a better chance of just trying to climb and drop on enemies over and over again. Here we go, a low speed turn fight begins, while the camera is just spectating us. Vampire is trying to run away, and slowly catching up. He does a turn at the last second. That's critical on him. Tail damage. I really don't trust tail and losing control damage critical, because they're so unreliable. Like most of the times you have a black elevator and you're just fine. You can even sometimes turn better with a black elevator, which is absurd. Okay, flaps turn all the way around, back on its tail. Now it's just like I'm just abusing the acceleration and the advantage I have to test the turn fight capabilities of this plane, because I know there's no possible way of he getting on my tail anyway. Okay, just hit the. Just gonna try to slow down to get on its tail again. And as you see, I just can't get a guns on him anyway. But I just kept trying because I was bored anyway. And there was nothing else around, so might as well have a little bit of fun. And as you see, the plane has a tendency of putting a nose down, which can be really annoying in slow speed turn fights. And even though I'm using flaps to help myself pull up, it just doesn't work. And the rudder is not helping as well, because it's not responding well in like these sideways turns. As you see, even though I'm turning all the way to the side, the rudder is not moving at all. So I'm just gonna stall all the way up. Retract the flaps to gain some speed first. I'm waiting for him to see if he's gonna try to stay on me or not. And here he comes. I'm just gonna pull him into a stall. There he goes. I'm gonna roll around. This is like a half hammerhead. As you see, the plane dropped the nose immediately as soon as I left off the keyboard. And that happens on a lot of planes. I have no idea why. That's probably gonna be fixed in the new mouse aim. I hope so. Which is still work in progress, as I know. Okay, pulling him into a stall again. This time with a steeper angle. Okay, now just gonna make sure that I don't overshoot him. And this can be really dangerous because you're aiming straight into a mountain, so just hit the air brakes when you want to do that. Okay, the camber has spawned in the meantime, so I'm just gonna go finish him off as well. And that's pretty much the end of the match. If you want to bother on commentating killing a Gambra with no guns. overall, this is a pretty nice plane to start the American line with, because it's a really versatile plane in general, and its battle rating 7.7. It fights a lot of things, so you will always have something new to see from the 6.7 up to the 8.7. So you will always have some kind of fun or a challenge, and the guns are pretty decent as well. So you won't have a lot of problems even with the stock belt. Alright, let's see the results. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.